Hey, everybody, welcome to another episode of Body Slams and Pinfalls. I'm Joe WhattaDay Lowry, and today I am honored to have a fellow colleague, a multi-time world tag team champion, a former WWE superstar. He's a legend. He's a Hall of Famer. The list goes on and on. Let's welcome to the show, Mr. Gerald Brisco. Welcome, Gerald.
What a day, Joe, man. I get to be on here with one of my dear friends that helped me out learning this podcast business. And I appreciate your help and I appreciate the knowledge that you shared with me.
No problem, brother. I'm so glad to see you again. It's been great. We had a show on Sportskeeda called What Were They Thinking? That was a fun time.
Yeah. And what were they thinking about canceling us, man?
I know, it's crazy. It's a crazy world out there. People want things right away, and hey, the show might come back. You just never know. But
You never know. You never know. You never give up, man. That's something you always do. Just strive to move forward and never give up, man. I'm pushing 80. Next month I'll be 79 years old in September.
Oh my goodness.
But I'm not giving up nothing. I'm learning all this technology, as you know, man. So, for an old timer learning all this new stuff, you can learn something every day if you just want to and you just try. So don't give up on nothing, man.
Well, I know behind the scenes, I was checking out your office there, your studio, and you got all the gadgets. There's no doubt about it. You got all the good stuff there.
Well, I started from the beginning. When you start from scratch, it's easy, they're getting suggestions from guys like you and John Layfield and that old crotchety guy, Bill Apter, And
Bill.
Bill, I love that Bill. I mean, if the first time I had him on, don't worry, man. I do all this stuff. I do it. I'm a professional. And what it took us 45 minutes to get him on. Then
Oh, it's
we're on
crazy.
a show the other night with his show, and who was it?
Yep.
Whoever it was, who after and who helped me out here?
Chris Featherstone. Was it Chris Featherstone or Mac
No,
Davis?
no, Mac Davis, yeah.
Mac Davis. Yeah,
And
Mac Davis.
once again, we lost him 2 or 3 times. I had to
Oh,
give
yeah.
him grief.
No, no,
Bill's into so many things. His mind's wandering so many different directions. When you got a small mind like Bill Apter's, it
there you
really
go.
wants to
Bill Apter is actually my mentor. I've known him for many years. We reconnected through Facebook probably back in the about 6, 7, 8 years ago, and he's been great. We've had shows together. So I've had a show with him where he just got up, or his power went out, or his internet went out. So we always get that stuff. But nonetheless, Gerald, I brought you here today. It's not even been a week as of this recording, but the immortal Hulk Hogan suddenly passing away. It's really struck the whole world. Any corner of the universe, it knows who Hulk Hogan is. He was sports entertainment before there was sports entertainment. So I wanted to bring you on, just ask you, just talk to you, have a conversation. When did you first meet Terry Bollea before he was Hulk Hogan?
Oh wow, it goes way, way, way back. And when he was just thinking about being a wrestler. In Tampa, the old armory there.
Yeah.
Yeah, as is in really any building back in the old territory days, fans would sit in the same seat every week. So you kind of identified them, where's old Billy Joe, she used to sit here every day. Where's old Betty Jane, she sat on the other side. And there's old Joe Bob, he sat there
Oh, yeah.
right in the corner there. And so Terry used to sit about 10, 15 rows back at ringside, right in
Okay.
the middle. So
Oh,
you
wow.
really couldn't miss him because he was of course 6'8", 6'7",
Oh,
whatever
yeah.
else he was, and 300 plus pounds. Plus back then he had that full head of bleach blonde hair.
So
He
he's
was a huge Billy Superstar Graham fan and Briscoe Brother fan and Dusty Rhodes fan, and he used to come every Tuesday night at the Armory.
that
And
is awesome.
being part owner in a territory, like it was Florida, you always looking for people, looking for talent, so to say. So we spotted him sitting back there week in and week out. We'd see him stand up and cheer when we come in the ring. We'd see him, boo the hills. This kid, seemed like pretty good. We knew nothing about him. Of course, there's always a lot of little ladies running around there that knows everybody in the building. So we go, hey, who is that big guy that sat about 15 rows back? Well, that's Terry Bollea. He plays on a rock and roll band over by the university there.
Yeah.
So one night, my brother and I got in early from a town. We got in our car, hey, let's go check out that guy and talk to him. So we went over there. This is months before, almost probably a year before he started into the business. And we laid out a proposal. Hey, we can set you up with a tryout and all this stuff.
Sure.
And so he was more than gracious to take up our offer. And so that's when I first met him before he ever stepped foot in a squared circle.
So so the fans back then, probably just like me riding the train in the old days. If you took the same train every day, you got the same people. They sat in the same seat. So back at the old Tampa Armory, that's what they did? They just the same fan, same seat every time.
Every time, and you just got to know these people because
Sure.
if you're working Tampa and you're up there on the upper card level, you're in Tampa every week because that's the money town, and so you get to know all the fans and you get to know where they sit, and all they do run into them at the shopping center or something like that. Tampa wasn't a huge big town, so
Sure.
you'd run into these people all the time.
Right.
I
Oh, I understand.
recognize you, and oh yeah, well you Brisco, I watch you every, I know. So yeah, you just get to know the fans, which was a great thing about the territory days. You made a lot of friends with these people.
That's awesome. So you got Terry Bollea under your wings and so forth. Training wise, was he equipped to adapt to professional wrestling? Did he take to it
Very
right?
Very quick, Joe. I mean, Hero Matsuda, who's one of the most famous trainers. And I don't want to vilify Hero because Hero is a gracious, really good person, and sometimes he gets vilified. But he had a job to do, and he was trained to do the job. Where he was our policeman. He was the guy that, the countless wise ass people that walk in. Oh, I could do this. You wrestlers, a bunch of phonies, and want to get in the ring. So we put him in there with somebody like Hero Matsuda and just show him how phony wrestling could be.
Sure.
And so Hero was our policeman. And like I said, no way, shape, or form am I trying to vilify a good friend of mine who's
Right.
passed and gone. But he was our only guy around. So my brother and I set Terry up with a tryout with Matsuda. Got in there, and unfortunately, Terry had played a gig the night before, and probably didn't get in until 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. Probably had some adult beverages, during the course of the night. It might have been a little hungover, might have even smelled a little alcohol when he came into the ring because you're sweating that stuff out. Because it's about 110 degrees in that old sportatorium place where we used to have a ring and train people. So Hero got up there and he's pushing Terry, and Terry's not doing too much, and he don't see much desire. And I think Terry got a little snug with him, so because he's so big. So Matsuda went to the mat. My brother and I kind of looked when Matsuda go to the match, he's getting ready to do something on you, and Terry didn't have a clue what was going on. So he went down that sort of like just a modern day Kurt Angle ankle lock on him, and twisted a little bit to the side where it did some damage on it. And Terry couldn't put any weight on his ankle for
Oh,
a
wow.
couple of weeks. So he rolled out of the ring, said, "I've had it. I'll be back. I'll sure you'll be back. You're rock and roll. You ain't coming back." Sure enough, about 4 or 5 weeks later, got a phone call, said I'm ready to come back. If you
Wow.
guys will let me come back. So, oh man, that's impressive. He wants to come back after a beating like he took there. So he
Sure.
came back and he was a lot smarter, Joe, this time. He didn't
Right.
do the gig the night before.
Yep.
Stayed home and got rest, said his prayer, took his vitamins and all that stuff, and come into the sportatorium ready to go with Matsuda. And they put up a good battle because he's so damn big. He put up a good battle
Right.
with Matsuda. So we decided we'd start training him at that point.
Okay.
And we started training him. He was on a bullet train, man, of knowledge, of learning. He
Sure.
learned pretty quick. About 6 weeks into the training, Matt said, I think he's about time we can put him into a match. So we put him into a match with another young guy called Brian Blair. And
Oh, hey, Brian Blair. Yeah, yeah.
see Brian Blair, and so Brian and him had some good matches. For both of them were beginners, so it's like the blind leading the blind out there. And so Brian had a few months head start on him. So Brian did a good job. Then we put him under a mask called Super Destroyer and put him with some veterans just to see if he could take that step forward. And he did. He did really good. But
Wow.
the office, I was assistant Johnny Valentine in the booking at that time. and Johnny just didn't seem to have any care for a young guy or have any, because we're struggling to do big business, and Johnny was more focused on the upper guys and
Right,
trying to
right.
figure out what to do. So I finally went to Terry because he wasn't getting a lot of bookings. And another funny story, WhattaDay, is trying to get him bookings. His mom did not want him to be a professional wrestler.
Oh, wow, wow. Yeah, I've
So
heard that.
I would call Terry, and Terry would be either sleeping or something like that. His mom wouldn't wake him up because he'd been up all night planning a gig. And I tell Terry he's booked in just say Fort Pierce, Florida on Wednesday night. Be there at 5 o'clock. She would not give him the messages. So
Oh, man.
so
Oh,
he was losing out on dates, and we started thinking, man, this guy's missing dates. What's going on? So
yeah.
through that little girl that kind of set up our meeting, we started saying, "Hey, Terry's not showing up. What's going on?" Is well, he's not getting the messages from his mom. She
Oh,
said,
wow.
"Do him a favor. Contact me. I live right next door to him. Have for the last 20 years. And when I see him, I'll make sure he gets the dates and shows up." So we started working through her, and he was getting his dates, and it started fulfilling. But that's just some of the stepping stones that we and Terry had to go through to become the guy that he did.
Who would have thought mom would have been a major roadblock at the beginning of his
And
career?
then later on, of course, she became as the number one fan.
So, Jerry, let me ask you, when he first started wrestling, was he Terry Bollea?
Is Terry Bollea. His first few matches were Terry
And then
Bollea, and then
Super
we put him
Destroyer?
under a mask
Yeah.
as the Super Destroyer.
So when did he become Hulk Hogan? I know 79 was his debut in WWE. Was that a Vince McMahon senior name or
That
how?
was a senior. I think I'm pretty sure you're right there. I'm sure that was a senior name. Just call him Hulk, the Incredible
Right.
Hulk. And then they got some feedback, some legal feedback, of course, from the Incredible Hulk.
Yeah. Lou Ferrigno, big fan as well. Yeah.
That TV show that was going on, and so when he got that, I think that's when they kind of worked with the name a little bit and finally got the rights to Hulk.
Now, obviously, you were in the NWA at that time when Hulk Hogan went to the then WWF and then WWF. When did you first surface with to be with WWE? It was kind of in the early 80s, right? 84, 85, 86, around there.
It was definitely well. We made our Green Saturday deal that took effect, I think, in 1984. I'm not sure, 83,
Okay.
84.
Oh, you talk about
And
like Black Saturday?
when we sold out to Vince, yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And I just had my first son, Wes, so I was
Okay.
wanting to take some time off anyway. I was kind of
Sure.
looking to kind of slow down and just focus on real estate business and the body shop that we had going here. So
Brisco's Body Shop, by the way.
Brisco Brothers Body Shop, that's correct. And I was off for about 4 or 5 months, and I got a call from Vince and hey, I really need some help, and hey, I want to turn to you and your brother, see if you guys can help me. We're having a couple of tag teams that's been unreliable for us there, would like you guys to come in and kind of step in where you'll be featured. You'll have a run against Murdoch and Adonis,
Sure.
and we'll go from there. So that's basically how we step into that. It was just true necessity that
Sure.
Vince needed an over tag team, and they really had designed for us to go on and kind of work the same program we did in Carolina, where we turned on Ricky Steamboat and Jay Youngblood and become Hills, and they were
Right.
they were looking down the road for us to do that against Mike Rotunda and Barry Windham.
Right, right, right. Now, right before that, obviously, I'll put up a picture. This is a big thing that got Hulk Hogan noticed. Rocky 3, that was a big deal. I know Vince Sr., I mean, I think every podcast has talked about it. The fact that Vince Sr. did not want him to go film Rocky 3, and he eventually did, and he left the WWF, then WWF. Um, when you got there, you were in the middle of Hulkamania, right? Hulkamania took off. It was already going.
Actually, it was pre-Hulkamania. It was
Yeah,
pre-WrestleMania 1. It was about 6 months before WrestleMania 1 when
right.
I went in there, and that's kind of the reason I went in there, because they promised me the promotional rights to WrestleMania 1 here
Okay.
in the Southeast. So if
Sure.
I would work as a local promoter for them, so
Right.
So I jumped on that ship right away, and when I got that opportunity, ended up promoting like 30 towns across the southeast.
Wow.
So
Wow. Okay. Now, real quickly, you did send me some photos I'd like to put up here. This one right here in particular, this right there, there's you
yeah.
and the Hulkster. What year was that? Do you remember?
That was at a Brian Blair opening of a Gold's Gym. Brian brought about
Oh,
a
okay.
half dozen Gold's Gym around Tampa Bay area, and
Wow.
Terry and him were like I said, Brian was one of his first matches, so Terry treated Brian very well and volunteered to do all the Gold's Gym opening for him, and that's my son Wes and my youngest son Joseph.
Oh, that's a great picture, and the Hulkster looks great there as well. Another picture you sent me. I think you marked as you were in Tampa with the bigwigs.
Yeah, that's it. That Tom McEwen, editor for the Tampa Bay Times,
Okay.
and a couple of at that time it came into become the Outback Bowl, but Tampa
Okay.
secured the first bowl game. And who was the first guy that they wanted to be spokesman for them? It was Terry Bollea and the big actor from what's his name? I can't. I'll think of his name as we're talking here. But
Okay.
the guy right next to Terry is Tom McEwen, the gray-headed guy. The other one is Malio, the owner of Malio's restaurant here with the big dread. Guy
Okay.
on the end next to me is Jim McMahon, the executive director of the Outback Bowl,
Oh,
and so
wow.
we had a kind of a signing that day to certify Hulk Hogan as the official spot. Oh, Burt Reynolds was the other guy. How can I
Oh,
forget
geez,
Burt
how can you
Reynolds?
forget Burt Reynolds? My God.
I forget Burt Reynolds. I know all these other dudes and
Yeah,
like
I'm looking at the photo down. It says Hall of Fame Bowl 1993. That's impressive stuff there.
yeah. Yeah.
Really good stuff. You sent me
So
a couple.
that did, but Joe, that just showed. I wanted to add that just showed
Sure.
you the community awareness that Hogan was aware of. He knew he had to get over with the community. Once
For
you start getting over and doing stuff like that, and you're visible on the outside of professional wrestling, it's a whole new ball game. And Terry was embraced that open arms.
Right. I mean, it's amazing. Talking with Eric Bischoff, Conrad Thompson, all those guys, yourself, the side stuff that the public did not know about with I'll say Terry Bollea because he wasn't Hulk Hogan. I mean, he was Hulk Hogan, but the Terry Bollea side, he was very into the kids, community involvement, things like that. Nobody knew that side of Hulk Hogan, aka Terry Bollea, and it's unfortunate that his passing that is brought to light.
Yeah,
Um,
that's really strange because nowadays when John Cena would, I mean, you're going back a couple of years when John Cena was active, when he would make a wish kid, I mean, it'd be all over the place. When Hogan did it was the days before social media, of course,
oh
like
yeah,
that,
yeah,
and it really wasn't made a big deal of. But I've seen him come off the road after 15 straight days, and I'll come into an arena that I'm promoting. I'll say, Terry,
right.
I got 20 Make-A-Wish kids here. They all dying to see you here.
Oh
That's a poor choice of word there, but they're all anxious to see you.
wow,
Yeah, give me 5 minutes to freshen up, and I'll be right there. And he wouldn't take them as a group. He took them individually, one
sure,
by one, and
wow,
made them all feel so special, Joe. It was so fantastic. See, and he wouldn't allow any cameras in there. I mean, he was
really.
that type where if he was going to do something, he was going to do it on his own.
That is absolutely incredible. Let me ask you a real question: have you ever wrestled Terry Bollea or Hulk Hogan?
No, unfortunately, I never got to share the ring with him. That's where I'm really envious of my son Wes because when his TNA days with the group that he had there, I can't even remember that now, but yeah, they had a little faction going there.
Oh yeah, TNA. Yeah,
Ace is an H, he
right.
got to share the ring with the Hulkster there. He rubbed that in my face all the time too. So good for him. I'm happy he got to share the ring with Terry.
Now I got a couple of posters here you sent me as well. This one, Hulk Hogan versus Butch Reed, the Hollywood Sportatorium. Is that something you were involved with?
Yeah, these cards that we're going to see, these are shows that I promoted here in Florida. Like I said, before I got promoted up to the office level, I
Right.
did local promotion for them. Like I said, I ended up with over 30 states promoting them. But that's just some of the shows. And there's one where he signed it to my son Wes, as you can
Yeah.
see.
Yep.
I don't know where Lee County, that's in Fort Myers, Florida.
Yep. Lee Civic
But
Center.
look at opening events at Randy Macho Man
Oh,
Savage versus Ricky the Dragon Super.
I just see Hall of Fame written all over this thing. I mean, this is incredible.
Yeah,
These are the matches that I went to go see. There's no
yeah.
doubt about it. These are the matches that I went to see. I like to share a quick story with you in regards to WrestleMania 1. I was 15 years old and I used to play street hockey on Sundays. And I asked my parents, can we go to WrestleMania? Can we go? And they're like, no, 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 no. And so I'm like, okay. So I told my parents I was going to go play street hockey. And what happened was I ditched the stick. I took the train, went into Boston Garden and watched WrestleMania. I spent $20 on a ticket. On the way out, there was a TV crew there and multiple TV crews, and they were interviewing people, and I got interviewed. And they said, "Oh, how do you like Hulk Hogan?" I'm like, "Oh, it's a great time and all that stuff." And I got on the train, went back home, and my parents decided we'll go out to eat for supper. And as we go out to eat, everybody's talking about, "Oh, I saw Joey on TV. I saw Joey on TV." And lo and behold, we sat down. My parents looked at me. They go, "We thought you went to go play street hockey." And I'm like, "Oh, busted," because I got on TV. So,
Busted, yeah.
that's just one of a million stories. You have a million stories. I guess my next question would be like, did you see Hulk Hogan before sports entertainment? Did you think he'd become the biggest star, even when you were training him, and even when he started wrestling on a professional level, regular? Did you know he was going to become the epitome of sports entertainment?
Boy, I'd like to say yes on there and make me a genius, but of course I didn't. I didn't think anybody would achieve that level, But I'd also seen Superstar Billy Graham and Dusty Rhodes and Harley Race and Jack Briscoe and some little guys like that become major superstars. Terry had all the ingredients. He had the look and
Sure.
he had the body back in those days. He was, like I said,
Oh,
6'7",
yeah.
whatever the heck he was, close to 300 pounds, and
Big
he was
guy.
always muscled up and tanned up. He always looked fantastic. So it doesn't take a genius to look at a guy. If this guy has the looks, if he just has the temperament and the mindset to put up with all the BS that he's got to put up with, he got all the tools to become one. So we knew he had the tools. We just didn't know what kind of opportunity he was going to get. Because honestly, I got to tell you, it's kind of depressing to think about it, but we sent him all over the South, and nobody in the South really had a clue what to do with this big guy. And my brother always told him, Terry, your future will be in New York. I mean, right from the very
You do.
beginning, right from the very beginning. And Jack told him, Terry, when you're ready, come and see me, and I'll call Vince Senior, and I'll get you set up. So,
Right.
well, one day, my brother and I are playing pool in my pool room in the house here. All of a sudden, we hear the motors Harleys pulling down my driveway, and I live way out in the county. Who are these people? I live on a lake, so I'm thinking maybe somebody thinks it's an access to the lake or something like that. So I go out, and it's Terry and Ed Leslie, Brutus the Barber Beefcake,
Oh, yeah,
right
yeah.
there. Harley's down and come in my house. Joe Jack, you told me when I'm ready to come and see you. Well, I think I'm ready. So Jack made the call to Vince Senior and put him over like $1 million. And just a quick story on that. Vince gave him an opening date up there, and so he went up there. When he went up there, he didn't have a robe or a jacket or anything like that. Vince Senior sent a runner out to one of the costume stores there in New York City before Madison Square Garden and bought Terry his first robe right there off a rack off of one of those shops that they got up there.
That is a great story. I mean, I do remember I recall the robe. He wore a big gold robe.
Yeah, and
Um,
that came from a costume shop there around Madison Square Garden.
hey, you got to do what you got to do. The show must go
Exactly.
on, right? Right, right. The Hulkster. You were in the WWE for a while, tag team champion, all that stuff. Did you see the magnitude? What was it like being in the arena with Hulk Hogan when he was on the card?
It was a different level. I mean, we always say that I've got about these top guys, but yeah, it's certainly, and even as a fan, I think you guys can tell when on a different level, by the
Right.
sound and enthusiasm of the deal. But you'd see him in, or I'll just go kick back to when he first came to Tampa, his hometown. You know, we had, of course, had a sellout at the Sun Dome where we ran now. They just ran it recently called the Yingling Center now, but they just ran a series of shows there not too long ago. Kind of went back to the roots there, but it was packed out 10, 11,000 people, whatever held at the time.
Wow.
And
Wow.
so the matches are going on, and it's the first time WWE has ever been in Tampa, you know.
Sure.
And so we got packed out, enthusiastic crowd, and everybody's waiting. So, boy, all of a sudden, here comes the Hulkster out, and he didn't have I'm a real American. I forgot what music he had at the time.
Probably Eye of the Tiger, right? Eye of the Tiger.
I think it could have even been the Black Sabbath song that he used.
Oh, okay. Okay. Oh, wow. All right.
But that music hit, and here he comes out, and it's got one of those Teflon roofs on it that's held up by air pressure.
Sure.
And man, it felt like, whoo, there goes all. You could kind of feel that air pressure change in the building because of the enthusiasm of the fans. And holy cow, I've never heard an audience respond like that. I was here when Dusty Rhodes turned babyface, and
Sure.
that was a hell of a
Oh,
pop.
yeah. Yeah.
It was nothing compared to when Hulk Hogan made his first appearance in Tampa Bay.
My first memory of Hulk Hogan, I went to a card at the Boston Garden, January '84, is week before he won the title from the Iron Sheik. So it was like your basic card, Bob Backlund, all those guys. The following month sold out in a matter of seconds because he had his rematch with the Iron Sheik. They did a quick tour in February of rematches. And I could tell a huge difference between the crowd from January to the crowd to February.
Yeah, wow.
So I know the bubble pressure that you're talking about, because when Hogan was on the card, it was crazy. It was absolutely crazy and insane. You personally, you worked in the background and so forth, or you were on tour with Hulk Hogan. How was his relationship with Vince McMahon? How would you categorize that between them two?
In the early days, it was love at first sight, and then after a few years, I mean, like any relationship, it starts to have differences. In the beginning, if either one of them would suggest anything, because they were having so much success,
Right.
that it was just a nod, okay, a nod and a handshake, okay, sounds great. But then a little bit later on, after they both start getting their feet wet and start learning the business a little bit more, and Vince was on a learning curve too at that time because he had
Sure.
taken over from his father. And he wasn't he didn't have a thumb on everything like he did in the later years. But they
Sure.
started having some disagreements, and you felt that. You always felt a little tension when they were around each other. But they were like a cousins. You love your cousin to a certain point. Then if your cousin does something or says something, then you
Exactly.
get pissed at him, but you're still family. So
Right.
that's kind of real. They had a family type relationship.
Sure. And, with all families, there comes, stuff with
Yeah.
that. Okay. So moving on, the Hulkamania's run a while and so forth. And then, of course, the breakup of Hulk Hogan and WWE or F at the time. What was your reaction to that when Hulk Hogan departed the company?
I was scared. I got to tell you the truth. I was worried, what's going to
Sure.
happen here. But, I had several friends who had worked real close to Vince and really knew his vision better than I did. Because, like I said, I was a local promoter. I was away from the office, so I wasn't getting all the information that these other guys were getting. So I was a little concerned. So I said something one day. I believe it was to Jack Lanza.
Oh, Blackjack.
Jack Landon. And so we were doing TV, and Vince was over in the corner giving instructions. He pointed at it. He said, "See that guy over there?" And I said, "Yeah, Vince." He said, "As long as he's at the helm, we got nothing to worry about.
Wow.
He's a complete leader, and we'll get through this stuff." And sure enough, Jack Landon was so right.
Right. And like all two budding romances and so forth, Hulk Hogan magically returned.
Just made up. Yeah, that was a good period.
Now
In
you
the
were
meantime, we tried all these guys to take Hulk Hogan's place, the Sid, the Warrior, everybody else that was passing through. Well, this is the next Hogan. There wasn't going to be a next Hogan that quick, brother. WhattaDay. It just wasn't going to be it. It just wasn't going to happen.
funny. I recall back in the late 80s and 90s, a wrestler by the name of Dan Spivey, who almost
Yeah,
looked like Hulk Hogan. He had the long blonde hair. He wore the yellow shorts and boots. And And sometimes I look at those old videos. I'm like, God, he looks like he wanted to be Hulk Hogan. And who knows?
He's a Tampa boy too.
Is he 85?
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. That is awesome. What did you think when the Hulkster was in the WCW? Did you think he was going to have that success that he would get in the WWE?
I knew he would have success, but I didn't know it would go to the limit that it went to, and it really didn't go to that limit until he donned that uniform right there. And that's when really everybody got scared out of their pants about, that we make the right decision and be on the right guy there. But sure enough, that thing turned out we did.
Yeah, it's great to hear all the great Hall of Famers. Eric Bischoff talked about how they organized the infamous heel turn,
Yeah.
so to
And a
speak.
Thunder in Paradise shooting, I believe it was.
Yes, and he went over and they had a quick conversation, then dinner, and the rest is history. If you were to see Hulk Hogan right now, one last time, what would you say to the Hulkster?
I love you, man, and thank you. As Eric said, and it got discombobulated and all these internet marks to think they know anything. When I'd say thank you for the house, and I'd mean it both ways. I'd mean it for this house that I'm sitting in right now, even though I bought it before Alchemy ever come about, but it helped me continue to grow it and remodel and pay for it. But we all in this business, Joe. We all, and no matter, I mean, you and your form of business in the wrestling profession, everybody from a writer to a publicist or whatever, we owe Terry Bollea a big thanks. What it could have happened with somebody else, it could have, but would have happened on a level with Terry because of his unique personality and look. It's hard to say, but I as an old timer, I've seen it all, and I just don't think it would have happened with anybody else. I think what he did inspired the Stone Cold, the Rocks, and the Triple H's, and the Shawn Michaels, and so forth.
That's a great, Jerry. I want to thank you so much for coming on the show. I wanted to get you on because I know you trained Hulk Hogan. You were with Hulk Hogan in the early days. You were with him during the Hulkamania years and the pre WCW, post WCW, all that stuff. I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for coming on the show. It's great to have a WWE Hall of Famer. And, and if ever I'm in Tampa and I need my car worked on, I'm definitely going to go to Brisco Brothers Auto Body Shop.
Well, unfortunately, you'll go to a remodeled building in a different business because I sold that business about 5 years ago.
Keep the kayfabe alive. I was trying to keep the kayfabe
But
alive.
there's still people that go by the shop and take pictures. I stopped in there because we had a storm a few months back, about a year ago.
Sure.
And we had a giant oak tree out in front. We used to call our pillar, our acre.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah.
As long as that oak tree's there, we'll be here. Of course, a storm took out the oak tree. So I stopped in just to say hello to the new owners and introduce myself. He said, he kind of laughed. He said, I'm great. Honored to meet you. He said, there's still people that come by and just want to take a picture of the building. So
that's awesome.
And kind of cool to hear that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Well, I know next time I'm down in Tampa, the first person I'm looking up is you, and I'm going to come by and take a visit and, maybe tour that famous Brisco studio you got going on back there because you got a lot more gadgets than I do. I know that.
I doubt that. I don't have that WhattaDay. And WhattaDay when you're on WhattaDay Joe's podcast. So thanks so much for having me on, Joe. Have a wonderful week. And let's remember Hogan in the right way, the only way to remember.
I always do. Hulkster was a big part of I don't want to say growing up, but in my teen years, I know a lot of people grew up with him, but I was like 14, 15 when he came around. It was a great age because you saw before Hogan and then and then when Hogan came and it just supercharged professional wrestling for me and so forth. So I love it. I'm a big fan. I always will be. And I'm very grateful to have you on today.
Thank you, sir.
All right, folks, that's going to do it for us here at Body Slams and Pinfalls. Be sure to check out my YouTube channel, Ringside with WhattaDay Joe Lowry. And you can also find me on Instagram and all social media. So that's going to do it for me and for Mr. Gerald Brisco. I'm Joe Lowry. What a day.